Ladies and gentlemen, emotional strength is not about being unbreakable. It's about being brave enough to feel everything and still move forward. It's about standing in the middle of chaos without losing yourself, about choosing self-respect when it would be easier to stay silent, about trusting your inner voice when the world is trying to drown it out. If you've ever felt overwhelmed, underestimated, or emotionally exhausted, this message is for you. Because the strongest people are not the ones who never fall, but the ones who rise with clarity, courage, and control over their emotions. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear could change the way you handle pain, pressure, and your own power forever. Emotional strength is not about never breaking. It is about learning how to hold yourself together when life gives you every reason to fall apart. It is about standing in your truth even when the world is loud, judgmental, and impatient. For a long time, we are taught to be pleasing, accommodating, and agreeable. We are taught to smile through discomfort and call it grace. But emotional strength begins the moment you decide that your feelings matter just as much as your responsibilities, and your inner voice deserves just as much respect as external approval. Becoming emotionally strong starts with self-awareness. You cannot strengthen what you refuse to acknowledge. You must be brave enough to sit with your emotions, not run from them. Anger, sadness, fear, disappointment, these are not weaknesses, they are signals. They are messengers trying to tell you where you are hurting, where you are being tested, and where you need to grow. When you stop judging yourself for feeling deeply, you take the first step toward emotional power. You stop asking, "Why am I like this?" and start asking, "What is this teaching me?" Emotional strength requires boundaries. Not walls, not isolation, but clear, unapologetic boundaries. You have to understand that saying no does not make you selfish, and choosing yourself does not make you difficult. You are allowed to protect your energy. You are allowed to step back from people who drain you, environments that diminish you, and conversations that demand you shrink. Emotional strength is knowing that you can love people deeply without losing yourself in the process. One of the hardest lessons in emotional growth is learning not to seek validation from places that cannot give it to you. Not everyone will understand your journey, and not everyone needs to. When you stop chasing approval, you reclaim your power. You stop performing for acceptance and start living in alignment with who you truly are. That confidence, that quiet certainty is not loud, but it is unshakable. Emotional strength is built in moments of discomfort. It is forged when things do not go your way, when plans fail, when relationships end, when dreams take longer than expected. In those moments you have a choice. You can become bitter or you can become better. You can allow pain to harden you or you can allow it to refine you. Strength is not the absence of pain, it is the decision not to let pain define you. You become emotionally strong when you learn to respond instead of react. When something triggers you, pause, breathe, ask yourself why it affects you so deeply. Often, what hurts us the most is connected to an old wound, an unhealed memory, a fear we never addressed. Emotional maturity is not pretending it does not hurt. It is understanding why it does and choosing not to let it control your behavior. There is also strength in vulnerability. Being emotionally strong does not mean being emotionally closed. It means being selective with your vulnerability. It means knowing who has earned the right to hear your story and who has not. Opening up to the right people can be healing. It reminds you that you are not alone, that your struggles are valid, and that connection is not a weakness but a source of resilience. Another essential part of emotional strength is self-compassion. You will make mistakes. You will have days where you feel lost, insecure, or overwhelmed. Speak to yourself the way you would speak to someone you love. Replace harsh self-criticism with understanding. Growth is not linear, and strength is not built overnight. Every time you choose patience over punishment, you strengthen your emotional foundation. Emotionally strong people take responsibility for their healing. They do not wait for closure from others or permission to move on. They understand that healing is an inside job. You cannot control how others treat you, but you can control how you respond, what you tolerate, and what you choose to carry forward. Letting go is not forgetting, it is deciding that your peace is more important than your past pain. Resilience grows when you trust yourself, when you believe that no matter what happens, you will find a way through. Life will challenge you, test you, and sometimes knock you off your feet. Emotional strength is the confidence that even if you fall, you will rise with more wisdom, clarity, and courage than before. It is knowing that you are capable of rebuilding, reinventing, and redefining yourself at any stage of life. Becoming emotionally strong also means embracing change. Change can be uncomfortable, uncertain, and terrifying, but it is also necessary. When you stop resisting change and start trusting the process, you open yourself to growth. Every version of you was created to prepare you for the next. Do not cling to who you were when you are becoming someone stronger. You will face criticism. You will face doubt, both from others and from within yourself. Emotional strength is not allowing those voices to silence you. Listen, learn if there is value, and let the rest go. You do not need to explain your choices to everyone. You do not need to justify your dreams. Stand firmly in your truth even when your voice shakes. And finally, emotional strength is choosing hope, again and again. It is believing in yourself even when circumstances try to convince you otherwise. It is waking up each day and deciding to show up with courage, authenticity, and self-respect. You are allowed to evolve. You are allowed to outgrow people, places, and patterns that no longer serve you. The strongest thing you can do is honor who you are becoming. Even when the journey is difficult, even when the path is unclear, even when the strength you are building is quiet, invisible, and deeply personal, that quiet strength shows up in the way you carry yourself through uncertainty, in the way you refuse to abandon yourself just to belong, toggle social acceptance. Emotional strength is choosing integrity over convenience, even when it costs you comfort. It is understanding that growth often feels lonely before it feels empowering. There will be moments when you question your choices, when staying true to yourself feels harder than giving in. Those moments are not signs of weakness, they are proof that you are evolving. As you grow emotionally stronger, you begin to detach from outcomes you cannot control. You learn that not everything is meant to work out the way you imagined, and that does not mean you failed. Sometimes life redirects you because your vision was too small for what you are capable of becoming. Emotional maturity is trusting that what passes you by is not a loss but a release, making space for something more aligned. You also learn to sit with discomfort without rushing to fix it. Not every problem needs an immediate solution. Some emotions need to be felt, understood, and allowed to pass in their own time. When you stop forcing yourself to be okay, you actually start healing. Emotional strength is patience with your own process. It is giving yourself permission to pause, to reflect, and to recalibrate without guilt. There is power in consistency. Showing up for yourself every day, even in small ways, builds emotional endurance. Keeping promises to yourself, honoring your values, and choosing what nourishes you over what numbs you strengthens your inner core. Over time, you stop relying on external motivation because your discipline becomes rooted in self-respect. Emotionally strong people learn the art of letting people be who they are without taking it personally. You begin to understand that someone else's behavior is often a reflection of their own wounds, fears, and limitations. This awareness frees you from carrying unnecessary emotional weight. You stop internalizing rejection and start recognizing misalignment. Not everyone who walks away is a loss, and not everyone who stays deserves access to your inner world. You will notice a shift in how you speak to yourself during challenges. Instead of panic, there is curiosity. Instead of self-blame, there is accountability. Instead of fear, there is faith in your ability to adapt. Emotional strength is not dramatic, it is grounded. It does not need to prove itself to anyone. It simply is. There will be moments when your strength is tested in silence, when no one sees the effort it takes just to keep going. Those moments matter. They shape your character more than applause ever could. When you choose courage over comfort in private, you build confidence that no external validation can replace. As you deepen your emotional resilience, you become more present. You stop living entirely in the past or worrying endlessly about the future. You understand that the present moment is where your power lives. From this place, you make clearer decisions, communicate more honestly, and connect more authentically. You also learn that forgiveness is not about excusing harm, but about freeing yourself from the burden of resentment. Holding on to anger does not protect you, it exhausts you. Emotional strength is releasing what you cannot change, so you can invest your energy in what you can. Forgiveness is not a favor to others, it is an act of self-liberation. There is a quiet confidence that comes with emotional strength. You no longer feel the need to over-explain, overgive, or over-compromise. You know your worth without having to announce it. You understand that your value is inherent, not something earned through sacrifice or suffering. Emotionally strong people allow themselves to evolve. They do not cling to identities that no longer fit. They accept that growth requires shedding old versions of themselves, even if those versions once felt safe. Change becomes less threatening when you trust your ability to navigate it. You begin to notice that your reactions soften. Situations that once overwhelmed you no longer have the same hold. Not because you care less, but because you understand more. You recognize patterns, anticipate triggers, and respond with intention. This is not emotional detachment. It is emotional mastery. Strength also shows up in the way you celebrate others without comparison. When you are secure in your own journey, someone else's success does not diminish you. You understand that there is room for everyone to thrive, and you stop measuring your progress against timelines that were never meant for you. Emotionally strong people invest in their inner world as much as their external achievements. They prioritize mental clarity, emotional balance, and spiritual grounding. They know that success without inner peace is hollow, and that true fulfillment comes from alignment between who you are and how you live. There will be setbacks. There will be moments when old fears resurface and old habits try to return. Emotional strength is not perfection, it is awareness. It is catching yourself before you spiral, choosing differently even when it feels uncomfortable, and recommitting to your growth without shame. You learn to trust your intuition. That quiet inner voice becomes clear as you stop drowning it out with noise and doubt. Emotional strength is honoring that voice, even when it challenges you to step into the unknown. Your intuition is not random, it is informed by every experience, lesson, and truth you have lived. As you continue to grow, you realize that emotional strength is not something you arrive at, but something you practice. Every conversation, every decision, every challenge offers an opportunity to respond with greater self-awareness and compassion. You become less reactive, more intentional, and deeply rooted in your sense of self. You understand that being emotionally strong does not mean you never need support. It means you know when to ask for it without feeling ashamed. Strength and support are not opposites, they work together. Allowing yourself to be helped is an acknowledgement of your humanity, not a surrender of your power. Over time, you stop fearing your emotions and start respecting them. You no longer suppress, deny, or avoid what you feel. You listen, you learn, and you lead yourself forward with clarity. Emotional strength becomes less about survival and more about conscious living. You begin to move through life with a sense of purpose that is not easily shaken. External circumstances may change, but your inner compass remains steady. You are no longer easily swayed by chaos because you have built stability within. And in this process, you discover that emotional strength is not loud or aggressive. It is calm, it is steady, it is deeply rooted in self-trust, self-respect, and self-awareness. It is choosing to grow even when staying the same feels easier. It is honoring your emotions without being ruled by them. It is standing in your truth day after day with grace, courage, and an unbreakable connection to who you are becoming. That becoming is a living, breathing process shaped by every choice you make when no one is watching. Emotional strength deepens when you stop outsourcing your sense of worth to circumstances, people, or achievements. You begin to understand that confidence is not something given to you by applause or recognition. It is something you cultivate by honoring your values even when it is inconvenient. Each time you choose honesty over approval, courage over comfort, and authenticity over performance, you reinforce the belief that you can trust yourself. There will be seasons when life feels heavy, when progress feels slow, and when your patience is tested in ways you did not anticipate. Emotional strength in those moments is not about forcing optimism. It is about staying grounded in reality while refusing to surrender to despair. It is about acknowledging the weight without letting it crush you. You learn to say, "This is hard and I am still capable." This balance between realism and resilience is where true strength lives. As you continue this journey, you stop needing constant reassurance. You no longer require others to validate your feelings before you allow yourself to feel them. You trust your emotional experience enough to honor it without explanation. This quiet self-assurance changes the way you show up in relationships. You communicate more clearly, listen more deeply, and disengage more peacefully when something no longer aligns. Emotionally strong people are not afraid of solitude. They understand the difference between loneliness and aloneness. Being alone becomes a space for reflection rather than fear. In silence, you reconnect with your thoughts, your desires, and your intuition. You learn that your own company can be grounding, nurturing, and empowering. From this place, you form connections not out of need, but out of choice. You also become more intentional with your energy. You stop giving your emotional bandwidth to things that do not deserve it. Not every comment requires a response. Not every disagreement requires your involvement. Emotional strength is discernment. It is knowing where to invest your energy and where to conserve it. This awareness protects your peace and preserves your focus. With time, you notice that your relationship with failure changes. What once felt like a reflection of your worth now feels like feedback. You stop labeling yourself as incapable and start asking what can be learned. Emotional strength reframes setbacks as part of the process rather than proof that you are not enough. You realize that growth often looks messy before it looks successful. There is also a deepening sense of empathy that comes with emotional maturity. When you understand your own struggles, you become more compassionate toward others. You listen without rushing to judge. You respond without needing to dominate. This empathy does not mean you tolerate disrespect. It means you understand complexity. You can hold compassion and boundaries at the same time. Emotionally strong people do not rush healing. They allow it to unfold naturally, understanding that some wounds require time, patience, and repeated care. You stop pressuring yourself to move on before you are ready. Instead, you focus on moving forward with intention. Healing becomes less about erasing the past and more about integrating it into a stronger sense of self. You begin to notice that your self-talk evolves. The internal dialogue that once criticized and doubted now encourages and guides. You become your own anchor during moments of uncertainty. When fear arises, you do not shame yourself for feeling it. You acknowledge it and then choose to act from courage rather than avoidance. This practice builds trust within yourself. As emotional strength grows, comparison loses its grip. You stop measuring your life against curated versions of others. You understand that everyone is navigating their own battles, many of which are invisible. Your focus returns to your own path, your own pace, and your own purpose. This shift brings a sense of freedom that no external achievement can replace. You also become more honest about what you want. Emotional clarity allows you to recognize desires without guilt or justification. You give yourself permission to want more, to dream bigger, and to redefine success on your own terms. Emotional strength is claiming your aspirations without shrinking them to make others comfortable. There will be moments when standing in your truth costs you relationships opportunities, or familiarity. Emotional strength is accepting that loss without betraying yourself. You understand that alignment sometimes requires sacrifice, and that not every ending is a failure. Some endings are acts of self-respect. You learn to stay present during emotional discomfort rather than escaping it, whether through distraction, denial, or overworking. Avoidance only delays healing. Emotional strength is staying with the feeling long enough to understand it. When you do this, emotions lose their power to overwhelm you. They pass through rather than take over. As your inner stability strengthens, your reactions become less extreme. You no longer swing between highs and lows based on external events. There is a steadiness in how you navigate success and disappointment. This balance does not make life dull, it makes it sustainable. You experience joy without clinging to it and sadness without fearing it. You also recognize that emotional strength requires rest. Constant productivity is not resilience. Allowing yourself to pause, to recharge, and to care for your mental well-being is an act of strength, not indulgence. You honor your limits without apology. You understand that burnout does not serve growth. Over time, you stop needing to prove how strong you are. Strength becomes something you feel rather than something you display. You move through challenges with quiet confidence, trusting that you will adapt no matter what unfolds. This trust becomes the foundation of your resilience. You begin to see that emotional strength is deeply connected to self-respect. You do not abandon your needs to keep the peace. You do not silence your voice to avoid conflict. You address issues with clarity and calm, knowing that honesty is kinder than resentment. This approach transforms the way you handle difficult conversations. Emotionally strong people understand that healing is not linear. Some days you feel grounded and empowered, and other days old wounds resurface. Instead of seeing this as regression, you see it as an opportunity to apply what you have learned. Each time you respond with awareness instead of habit, you reinforce your growth. You become more comfortable with uncertainty. Not knowing all the answers no longer paralyzes you. You trust that clarity will come through action and experience. Emotional strength allows you to move forward without guarantees, guided by faith in your ability to adjust and learn. As you continue to evolve, you realize that emotional strength is not about controlling life, but about controlling how you meet it. You cannot prevent pain, disappointment, or change, but you can choose resilience, awareness, and self-trust. You show up for yourself with consistency, even when motivation fades. This strength reflects in your presence. People feel it when they are around you. Not because you dominate a room, but because you are grounded within yourself. You listen with intention, speak with clarity, and carry yourself with quiet assurance. Your energy is steady, not scattered. You begin to live from the inside out. Your decisions are guided by alignment rather than impulse. You no longer chase things that cost you your peace. Emotional strength teaches you that anything that requires you to abandon yourself is too expensive. And as this journey continues, you understand that becoming emotionally strong is not about reaching a final destination. It is about choosing awareness over avoidance, growth over comfort, and self-respect over fear, again and again, in ways both small and profound, shaping a life that feels grounded, intentional,